In this video for Python, we're going to be taking a look at string manipulation. How do we do that? We do that by slicing strings. So there is a built-in slicing method in Python that is used to isolate characters in a given string. Knowing how to use the slicing method allows the programmer to implement string manipulation, which is a very powerful tool. The slicing method is not the same thing as splitting. That's going to be covered in an upcoming video. Now, with the slicing method, you can get characters from a string starting from the left, the right, or any position you would like. We're going to take a look at how left works. Now, remember, it is not about you knowing code, but rather you understanding code. If you can understand code, you become a much stronger programmer because you develop the ability to problem solve. So let's take a look at slicing using left and mid. Now you can start from the left of any given string. That is using left slicing. You can specify the starting character and print the rest of the string. So you can start anywhere you want from the left and then print the rest of the string. You can also specify the starting character from the left and the ending character. Now, is our ending character inclusive or is it exclusive? We'll program and find out in just a moment. Now, this is how mid works as well. You specify a starting character and you specify the ending character, but we have to find out, is that ending character inclusive or exclusive? Well, we're going to program and find out. Now, left and mid don't require a keyword. It requires a number in brackets, and here's our sample string. It's going to be comp sci. Notice the starting letter starts at index 0. The second letter is index 1, and so on. This has a length of 8 characters, but it has the seventh index as our highest index or our max index because it starts at index 0. Let's go ahead, switch over to Python, and take a look at how left and how mid works. So we're over in PyCharm. Let's take a look at how to use left inside Python. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sample equals word. That doesn't manipulate it at all. We'll do that in a minute. And then what we're going to do is we're going to print out sample so we can see the results of our string manipulation. Now, when you want to use string manipulation, you put the string you want to work with and then you put a pair of brackets after it. And that refers to a couple different things. So let's take a look at what if we put the number 2 in here. Does that mean, well, we want to start from the left. Does that mean it wants to give us the second letter? Or does it want to give us the letter that's in the second index position? So we take a look at our sample string comp sci. When we run this, it doesn't run based on the amount of letters. It runs based on the index position. So let's go ahead, let's run our code, and we can see it outputs the letter M. That's because M is in the second index position. Now, what you can also do is you can put where you want to start from. Let's say I want to start from character 0. I put a colon in between the next number. Now it says 0, 2. That means I want to start at index 0 and I want to go to index 2. But does that mean, is that inclusive or exclusive? So let's take a look. So here we have CO. You'll notice that it only outputs the first 2 letters because we have index 0, index 1. That doesn't mean I'll put 3 letters from the left. This second number is exclusive. Now, what if I just do this? I put a colon and then a 2. Well, when we run that, we get the same thing. It puts the starting index, which is 0, in front of it. Now, there's something else we can do, is we can put the colon after a single number, because we know that this first number is inclusive, the second number is exclusive, but what if I don't put a number there? Well, when we run it, it starts from the second index this time, not the second letter, but the second index, and it outputs the rest of the string. Here we see C is in index 0, O is index 1, the letter M is in index 2, and because we've put a colon, we said, okay, from index 2, we want to output that and the rest of it. Now, there's one more we want to look at. What if I do this? What if I say I want to start at index 2 and I want to end at index 1? Well, obviously that's not going to work, but it's not giving me an error. Will our code even run? Yes, it will, and it doesn't output anything. It's extremely important. This is why you need to understand code, because if you don't understand it and you're just punching in numbers here, you're not going to understand while nothing is outputting. Now, for mid, we're going to do the same thing. Let's say I just want to print out SCO. I? Well, there's a couple different ways I can do that. The first thing I need to do is figure out where is the index for S. Well, C is 0, O is 1, M is 2, P is 3, the space is 4, so I want to start at index 5, and I want to output the rest of it. So what I can do is I can do 5 colon, that outputs psi. The other thing I can do, what if I just want SC? Well, then I'm going to put 7. I can't do 5 colon 6 because that 6 is exclusive. If I put in the 7, we see that S is index 5, C is index 6, I is index 7. But because the second number is exclusive, it won't include that I, and it just outputs SC. So that's how you use left and mid. Left when you want to start from the left, mid when you want to start anywhere you want. What we're going to do now is we're going to flip back over and take a look at using right in Python. All right, you can start from the right of any given string just like you can from the left. You can specify the starting character and print the rest of the string to the right of that character, which includes that character you want to start from. You can also specify the starting character and the ending character just like you do with left and mid. Now, the major difference in Python is that to start from the right, you use a negative index. Index 0 is not the first character from the right. The starting index is -1. When you type in 0 or a number greater than 0, Python says, okay, you want to start from the left. If you start with a negative index, it knows, okay, you want to start from the right. Because remember, there is no keyword. So here we can see my starting index from the right is -1, and that is with the I. -2 index is C, -3 index is S, -4 is the space, and on all the way to C. Now, it's one thing to know, it's another thing to implement it. So let's switch over to Python and take a look at how using right in Python actually works. So we're back in Python. This time we're going to take a look at how working from the right works. Remember, you need a negative number. If I put a singular negative number inside the brackets, such as -2, it will output the letter that's at index -2. Now, when I'm looking at comp psi, I know that I is at -1. The lowercase c is at position -2, so this should output a negative c, a lowercase c, and it does. Okay, well, what if I do this? What if I put a colon after the -2? Well, that means we want to start at index -2, and because we're working from the right, we want to start from -2, which means we're going to output everything to the right of -2, including -2, so we should get a lowercase c and a lowercase I, and we do. Now, what if I do this, though? What if I put in a colon before the -2? Because when we work from the left, we start with the number that's 0 or greater than. What is the default value that Python fills in if I don't put a number in front of the colon and use a negative number? Well, when we print it, it outputs something very interesting. It outputs everything starting from the right. It doesn't output -1. It doesn't output -2. It outputs S space PMOC. But notice it didn't do it starting from the right. It did it starting from the left because this isn't backwards here. This is not backwards at all. So what it does here is you can say, okay, it's going to start from the beginning of the string. It's going to output everything until index position -2 from the right. What is index position -2? That is going to be the C inside the psi. So it's going to output everything up until that point. Now, what if I want to output everything like the SC only? There's two options that I may be thinking about. Is it going to be -1 to -3? Let me get rid of this parentheses here. I meant to hit the colon. Is it going to be -1, -3, or is it going to be -3, -1? Well, remember, the second number is exclusive. This is where we want to start from. This is where we want to end at. So -3 is where I want to start. That is the capital S. I want to output the lowercase c, which is index -2. The second number, though, -1, is exclusive. This should give me a capital S and a lowercase c, and it does. But just for kicks, let's put in -1, -3, and let's see what we get here. It outputs nothing, because you cannot start at -1 and end at -3, because it outputs everything to the right starting at -1. It outputs everything to the right. Because there is no -3 to the right of -1, it's not going to output anything. It's very important to understand that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our string manipulation, we're going to tie it all together in a programming project. Let's take a look at the programming project overview so we know what to program. And to tie everything together, we can use string manipulation to build a palindrome checker. Now, a palindrome is a word spelled the same forwards, and it's also spelled the same way backwards. Now, the example we're going to use is kayak. Now, when programming, you should never do things in your head. A lot of times, when we see a small word like this, kayak, we start mentally envisioning where index 0 is and where index -1 is. That's a bad habit. Just take 15 seconds to go ahead and write out the indexes so you know what the high and what the low ones are. This gives you a starting point. It also allows you to avoid such simple mistakes. But this is what we're going to build. So I'll give you a chance to pause the video, see if you can put string manipulation into practice successfully. And then if you get stuck or you can't quite do it, don't worry. We're going to go over the solution in just a moment. But go ahead and give it a try and get as far as you can. This is a starting point for my palindrome checker. So I have a variable called word, and I put kayak inside that. Word 2 I've initialized, and what I'm going to do with word 2 is I'm actually going to build another string, but I'm going to start from the ending point of my word variable. I'm going to start at this K at the end here. I'm going to build the string backwards. Then I'm going to compare those two words to see if they are the same. Now I'm going to need the length of the word. It's not always going to be 5. I can check different words. If I just do 5, it's only going to check the first 5 characters. I want to check the whole word here. So what we need to do is we need a for loop. So I'm going to do for I in range. I'm going to start at -1. I want to go to the length, and then I want to step by -1. Now you're going to see a slight problem here. And when I run this, notice it doesn't even print anything. If it doesn't print anything, it's not going to do any string manipulation. And that is because of this right here, this length. When I put in length, it has a positive value. I want to start at index -1, and I want to go all the way to index -5 to the start of the word, which is the letter K. That's an index position -5. So how do I make length negative? Well, I'm simply going to multiply this by -1, and that will make length negative. Now I can start in index -1, I can go to index -5, and I can step by -1 each time this runs. Now what I also need to do is remember from our previous video, when we do for loops, this second number is exclusive. It doesn't include that. So right now, with a length of -5, it's going to check index -1, -2, -3, -4. It's not going to check index -5. So how do I get this from -5 to the next lowest negative number? I subtract 1. And just like that, that should give us the string manipulation we need. So all I'm going to do, word plus 2, use a compound statement here, and I'm going to put in word, use string manipulation, and I'm going to put in I. Because I starts from a negative value, it means we're going to start from the right. It's going to run all the way until it gets to index -5. Then all I need is a couple if statements. Actually, one if statement. If word equals word 2, then we know, and you want to spell print and some other things correctly, and put your quotes in the right place. They are palindromes. And then there's only one other possibility, and the other possibility is they are not palindromes. So let's run this. Let's check it, and it should say they are palindromes. It says they are palindromes. Let's try another one. Let's try race car. That should say it's a palindrome as well. It is. Let's try another one, such as computer. That is not a palindrome at all, and it says they are not palindromes. Hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to help the channel grow, and we'll see you guys in the next programming video.